You see, there comes a time when a man who has never believed in the red pill idea has no choice than to join. And there are different reasons why men join the red pill. This could be whether he has lost all his assets through divorce or whatever reason this might be, the reasons are valid. However, as men begin their red pill journey, they begin to discover something. They begin to discover that they are falling into a trap.
As a man, especially if you're a high status male, you want to be satisfied with that status. I have worked very, very hard to become a high status male. So I want to drive a car that reflects that. I want to have a relationship or relationships that reflect that. Nobody wants to become the richest man in the world to sit around with one chick who doesn't obey them.
One of the first traps that so many men don't see until it's too late is the idea that men are polygamous. Of course, it's backed up with so many facts. If you want to use the biblical fact, in fact, from the beginning, the polygamous marriage has been the ideal thing. By the time you've entered the red pill space and you've gotten accustomed to this belief, it never makes you faithful to one woman, which at the beginning might look like, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But if you look at many of these red pill guys on social media, point to me one single person amongst them that is either in a serious relationship or at some point gotten married. If you look at the likes of Myron Gain, Andrew Tate, you see that these people, they so much preach polygamy, but yet they have failed to get women that would be faithful to them and that would stick to them alone. Now, it's obvious that we don't know the private life of Andrew Tate, but if you look at it truly, can a woman accept polygamy? I know one thing you would say. Yeah, if I've got the money, she would definitely stay. It is true. Women would stay if you're able to fulfill all their needs and wants. They don't mind you having the second lady, the third lady, or even the fourth lady. But if you look at it truly, how many women would truly stick to a man just because he has money and he makes all the rules? If they stick to that man, will they stick to him for the rest of their lives? The second trap is when most men say that women are sexual objects. Now, because of the way women have portrayed themselves through the kind of clothes they wear, what they post on social media, and when they see that a man has got money, they try to use intimacy to tie him down. They decide to have a kid for him. You never see it coming when you have this belief that a woman has nothing to offer than a body until you now have your own daughter. And your idea about red pill start to look shaky. And I say this because by the time you have your daughter and she gets to these teenage years, even before adulthood, and you start to see the way she dresses and you start to see a manner of reasoning, she 100% most of the time doesn't know what she's doing. She's just following peer pressure. And you see the innocence in her. Your thinking begin to change because you would never see your daughter as that object of, nudity, despite the fact that she dresses in such indecent manner. And by then, you literally need to eat your own words, swallow all your words that you've said about the average woman. I'm not saying that this indecent dressing, it is something that is not a big deal. It is actually a big deal, but there's just that thing that helps you to see a clearer picture, so to say.
You guys know, I went ahead and took to the streets today. Someone asked me, Myron, are you not scared? No. If I die, I die. It is what it is. I'm not scared to die, bro. If I've been hitting doors with way more dangerous motherfuckers, I'm not really too worried about a couple of them boys or some women.
The third trap that most men fall into is this idea of speaking rudely. Now, you will see many of these popular red pill guys. In fact, the way their content is really portrayed. For a sensible man, at some point, it looks irritating. Let's even remove the idea of speaking to respect a woman. Let's reason on just speaking because the other person you're speaking to is a human being. And most of the time, you might think that this is how men speak. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying men shouldn't speak their mind. I'm not saying men shouldn't be blunt. But most red pillars usually make that mistake of confusing speaking rudely with speaking in a blunt manner. Speaking in a blunt manner means you're giving it undiluted. You're explaining it the way it should be. Speaking it rudely means you're speaking to insult the person you're talking to. You wouldn't understand this until you probably have your own boy child. And the moment he hits puberty, you begin to reason with the way he speaks to your wife or your spouse, which is his mom. When he speaks to his mom in a bad way in your presence, you wouldn't call that masculinity. You would call that rude. But because it's coming from you as a man that takes care of his family, it should be called masculinity. Meanwhile, your son is a perfect replica of who you are and what he has experienced you do over the years. So if your son speaks in a rude manner that pisses your wife off, then it means that you yourself should check yourself. There are actually bad representatives of the red pill, and it is left, not to me, it is left to you to be able to point out which ones are the bad representatives and how you're able to moderate their content to make sure it doesn't take you from good to bad. Wrapping up, it is high time men, and I would say people in general, begin to be mindful of the movement they join. In as much as this movement open your eyes to see your left from your right, you need to be careful not to pick what should not be picked. Now, just like the Matrix, there's the blue pill, there's the red pill. The blue pill makes you see that there's nothing wrong. Everything just goes right. The red pill opens your eyes to see that on the surface, it looks like everything is right, but deep down, it is not. But when you begin to watch content creators, extreme red pill content creators, telling you some things about red pill, it is not about taking it here and digesting it. You need to reason all what is being said. Look at them in plain sense. Is this really applicable? Imagine you have someone that has been faithful to you, and for that reason, you lost her because of this idea that men are polygamous in nature. Let me know what you think. Drop your comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.